Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett just went on one of the most unhinged rants we've heard all year, and that's saying a lot. And in doing so, she accidentally exposed DEI as a fraud, as well as humiliated the news network that she was on. Here's Jasmine Crockett on CNN.
That's what's happening right now. I am tired of the white tears. Listen, if you are competent, you are not concerned. When I walk into Congress every single day, you know why I don't feel away and why you can't make me doubt who I am is because I know that I had to work 10 times as hard as they did just to get into the seat. When you look and you compare me to Marjorie Taylor Greene or me to Lauren Boebert, there is no comparison. And that is the life that we have always lived. So the only people that are crying are the mediocre white boys that have been beaten out by people that historically have had to work so much harder. This is why they don't want us to have education.
That right there is reverse racism in action. And to prove it, just say the exact opposite. And if you're not allowed to say the opposite, then it's probably racist, and you probably shouldn't say it. For example, imagine Donald Trump or Elon Musk referring to anyone as quote-unquote mediocre black boys. Do you think that'd be allowed? Do you think it would go over well? Let's say Donald Trump held a press conference this afternoon and referred to someone as a mediocre black boy. I mean, I can hear it and see it now. There would be audible gasps and oohs coming from the audience. Some reporters might even walk out of the room. It would be on the cable news shows 24/7. Heck, if Donald Trump said mediocre black boys right before the Grammys, I betcha it would have been in everyone's speech as they won. If Beyonce went up on stage with her Grammy, she'd refer to herself as a mediocre black woman. It's sort of like when Trump talked about black jobs, and of course the left spun that out of context, and it became a badge of honor. It became they tried to claim that language as their own and use that phrase to empower themselves. Yet Jasmine Crockett right there, clearly, when she said mediocre white boys, meant that as a dig, meant that as an insult, yet you can't say the opposite in return. That right there is just proof of double standards. And that's part of the reason why race relations in this country have devolved so much. I remember when I was a kid, race relations weren't this tense. Things were actually good. And I would like to think that on a personal level, especially out in smaller communities, out in the country, away from the big cities where these culture war topics are flaring up, I'd like to think that still in small towns, people just look at their neighbors as exactly that, neighbors and fellow countrymen and people in their community. But the left is trying to divide us because right now the Democrats are losing. They have no real ideas. They have no real policies. And so they have to focus on identity. And that's exactly what was on display right there. What really boggles my mind is there was zero pushback from CNN. Jasmine Crockett was allowed to say that on air. Again, going back to Donald Trump, Elon Musk, or anyone to the right of the aisle. If anyone said mediocre black boys, there would be immediate pushback, if not having their microphone shut off. Now, Jasmine Crockett also referred to her having to work 10 times as hard. So I actually did some digging. All of what I'm about to show you is from the official government website for Congress, so you can fact check me because I have nothing to hide. But she referred to Lauren Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene as if she, Jasmine Crockett, works so much harder than both of them. So I don't exactly know how you would measure hard work in Congress. That seems like a nebulous idea. But since Congress is the legislative branch, since Congress controls the purse strings, the statistic that I'm going to use to measure this is how many pieces of legislation that they've sponsored. So you can sponsor a piece of legislation, meaning that you wrote it and you're the primary author behind it, or you can co-sponsor a piece of legislation, which means that you are in support of it. You didn't write it, but you're supporting it and you're putting your name behind it. So again, according to the official Congress website, Lauren Boebert has been in Congress since 2021, and in that time, she has sponsored 142 pieces of legislation, 142 for Lauren Boebert since 2021. Now, because 2025 just started, I'm not counting this year in my calculation, but that means that Lauren Boebert has averaged 35.5 pieces of legislation every single year since she entered Congress, okay? So Lauren Boebert, 35.5 pieces of legislation every single year. In second place is who Jasmine Crockett mentioned, Marjorie Taylor Greene. As you can see here, she has sponsored 93 pieces of legislation. Marjorie Taylor Greene has also been in Congress since 2021. And if you do the math, that averages out to 23.25 pieces of legislation every single year. Now, let's take a look at Jasmine Crockett, who was throwing stones and insulting her fellow colleagues and saying that they don't work hard. How many pieces of legislation do you think Jasmine has sponsored? Well, according to Congress, she has sponsored 25, and she's been in Congress since 2023. That means, again, not counting this year, not counting 2025 since it just started, that means she has averaged 12.5 pieces of legislation every year. Let's just visualize this for a second, okay? So Lauren Boebert has sponsored the most pieces of legislation, 35.5. Marjorie Taylor Greene, second place, 23.25. And in dead last is Jasmine Crockett, who is the critic here, who was throwing stones and judging her fellow colleagues. It's not even close, 12.5 pieces of legislation per year. Not a good look. And yet she wants to talk about how she has to work so much harder than her colleagues. She has to work, just overtime to get to where she is. Yet she's allowed to go on CNN, spout nonsense. Where are the fact checkers, by the way? Why didn't Daniel Dale come out of hiding and fact check her on the spot? Why wasn't she, chastised for using the language that she used? Of course, she wasn't chastised because perhaps, I don't know, CNN has an agenda to push. Perhaps they want to lean and tilt a certain way. When you give pushback to one side but not to another, it becomes really obvious what side you're on. But that wasn't the worst of what Jasmine Crockett said. She actually flat out said it. The Democrats have been hinting, terrible things about Donald Trump, authoritarian, totalitarian, the list goes on, right? I think this is the first time, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is the first time I've heard a sitting congressperson actually refer to Donald Trump and people in MAGA world as white supremacists.
I mean, this is very simple. We right now have a white supremacist that is sitting in the White House. He is backed up by other white supremacists. And if you really want to know who the criminals are in this country, you can Google it. You don't have to trust me. But the people that commit 80% of the most violent crimes in this country are white supremacists. Yet for whatever reason, they sit and they serve at the pleasure of the president. They are the ones that were there on January 6th, tearing our democracy down physically. And now we have them tearing us down right here from within.
First of all, I am old enough to remember when Democrats were all against racial profiling. Remember that? Like after 9/11, the various law enforcement agencies, for obvious reasons, began racial profiling. There was racial profiling in New York. I'm not saying that I'm for it because I obviously believe it can be misused. But at the same time, the facts are the facts, the numbers are the numbers, and if you want to streamline things and be efficient, I understand why it happened, is what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's perfect. Things can always be improved, and things can always be misused, but all of that to say, once upon a time, the Democrats were the ones against racial profiling, yet you have Jasmine Crockett racial profiling and making broad assumptions about white people on national TV. Obviously, I am not white. I'm nowhere close to white. I don't have a dog in this fight. I'm not white. I'm not black. I'm just an outsider. I am a proud Filipino American just watching all of this transpire. And so I feel like I can look at this objectively. So let's take a look at the latest results from the U.S. Census. According to the U.S. Census, 75.3% of the population is white. Now, I highlighted or rectangled, if that's a word, another box, 58.4%. That is white alone when you exclude people who are Hispanic or Latino. Now, I don't understand why Hispanic or Latino gets grouped into white, but it does. But in what I'm about to show you, they don't make the difference. They only talk about white people. You'll notice that in the next box, there won't be Hispanic. So let's just focus on that 75.3% figure. So let's fact check Jasmine Crockett because apparently CNN didn't want to. According to the FBI's own statistics, white people are responsible for 45.8% of murder and non-negligent manslaughter. Again, remember that white people are 75.3% of the entire U.S. population. So they actually are underrepresented in that violent crime statistic. And I've put a rectangle around all these violent crimes, aggravated assault, 61.8%. again, at the very bottom here, you see violent crime is a box on its own, and that's 59.1%. And like I said, compare that to the 75.3% of the total population. So white folk actually don't commit as much crime as you would think, proportionally to the makeup of the demographics of the country. And like I said, you'll notice there's no box for Hispanics here. They're all lumped together as white. And all of this raises the question, why in the world would Jasmine Crockett go on national TV and spew what was obviously an anti-white tirade, as well as all of that misinformation? And I think this all goes back to Trump ending DEI. This is all blowback. This is all just a continued meltdown and temper tantrum from the left because Trump is ending DEI. And what I think he's done is he's exposed what it really was. Because whether it's Van Jones on CNN or Rachel Maddow on MSNBC, I've seen all these pundits on cable news as well as congressional leaders on the Hill giving these interviews, and they're saying that Trump is attacking black people, as if DEI stands for black, which isn't the case. Because if DEI was actually doing what it was supposed to do, which is improving inclusivity, then ending DEI would also be an attack on white people. Because think of this, DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion. What about white women? We've heard over the years that white women are underrepresented in the workplace. White women are underrepresented in corporate America, in medicine, in science. So shouldn't DEI have been helping white women as well? How is it not an attack on them? What about sexuality? Gay, lesbians, bi, wherever you are on the spectrum, isn't DEI an attack on them? But you don't hear any of that because it's almost as if DEI was never about what it was proclaimed to be about. And I think that's why we're seeing the meltdowns that we're seeing. And that's why things have gotten so racially tinged. Because, you know, Trump has been calling this out. He's been exposing it for what it is. And the left just can't handle it. Because, you know, sometimes the truth hurts. But you know what else hurts? Low ratings. And that's exactly what CNN is getting. And quite frankly, they deserve it. Because they're letting people on like Jasmine Crockett. They're laying them on without fact-checking them. They're laying them on without moderating the harmful content that they're spreading on air. And that's why CNN's ratings are in the tank. So according to the Daily Mail, this was just published a few days ago, CNN and MSNBC report worst ratings month ever in key demographic, while Fox News enjoys its best, which is really the opposite. Yes, people get fatigued, especially if your side loses, you're fatigued. But there comes a point where there's the resistance, right? And so the other side that's out of office, they tend to thrive on resisting, on trying to get the coalitions back together, on planning for the future. And so, you know, think of it this way. When Barack Obama was in office, remember the organic grassroots movement of the Tea Party? I mean, that's when sites like Breitbart really took off. And then, you know, Fox News was also soaring in the ratings. Usually when you're out of power, it's a great time, but the left is just, they're totally scattered. And quite frankly, I think they're alienating everyone with all this just awful talk about race, talk about divisive. We're supposed to be a united country. I don't care what your skin color is. And truth be told, they're alienating everyone with all this divisive and toxic talk about race. We're supposed to be a united country, yet they want to segment everyone and say, this group over here can't relate to this group over here, and you guys have nothing in common, and this group over here is trying to suppress this group over here. What happened to trying to work together towards a common goal? What happened to being united by the values of our country, the values of our founding fathers, the values of the Constitution, the values found in the Bill of Rights? It's just, hello, anyone home? Apparently not. And neither are the ratings. That's why everyone's fleeing away from you. Just to put into perspective how bad CNN's ratings are. So blue is the total number of viewers. You'll see Fox News is crushing it in prime time. 2.7 million viewers, close to 2.8. CNN barely cracking 500,000. Just for the record, I have a few videos over 1 million on my channel. MSNBC, 700,000. But the most important demo for advertisers is the demo. So those are people 25 to 54. Advertisers, those are people in their prime working years, and that's who advertisers want to go after. And you'll see Fox News, 353,000 compared to CNN, 118,000, and then MSNBC is actually in dead last place there with 63,000. I mean, it hurts to spread hatred on your airwaves. It hurts to spread misinformation on your airwaves. No wonder people are going away. And when you consider how far the independent and right-wing ecosystems have grown online, whether it's podcasts, YouTube channels, websites, you think about how big that ecosystem is, and then you think about the dominance of Fox News. I mean, how in the world are Democrats still surviving? It just makes no sense. You can combine the viewership numbers for MSNBC, CNN. It's not even cracking what Fox News has. And then the left doesn't have its own version of Joe Rogan. In fact, they had Joe Rogan on their side and they kicked him out. So they only have themselves to blame for all of this. One final story for today's video. If Jasmine Crockett held a meltdown, so did AOC. I'm going to play this clip for you just straight through once, and then second time I'm going to do a deep dive and critique exactly what she's saying, because it is all over the place.
This dude is probably one of the most unintelligent billionaires I have ever met or seen or witnessed. Which, you can probably even glean that from watching these people on TV. Anyways, all of that is to say is that they don't do their homework. Clearly, they're putting 19-year-olds in at the Treasury. This dude is not smart. And the danger in the lack of intelligence and the lack of expertise that Elon has. I mean, this guy is one of the most morally vacant, but also just least knowledgeable about these systems that we really know of. But the point is that what that means is that they're going to hit a button inevitably. They are going to hit a button and things can go sideways.
Woo! Yeah, they're just losing their minds, and you kind of have to love it. It actually is kind of funny. I mean, who doesn't enjoy all of this, right? Enjoy the victory, enjoy the renaissance, so to speak. But she said, talking about Elon Musk, this is not a smart dude, while her entire tirade there was grammatically all over the place. Pronouns were all over the place, logically was all over the place. And so I just wanted to do a deep dive since she's, talking about intelligence and brains. Let's see how smart you are, AOC.
This dude is probably one of the most unintelligent billionaires I have ever met.
Two things there. How many billionaires have you met? Second of all, put aside what you think about billionaire ethics and whether or not anyone should be a billionaire. Stupid people don't fall into that much money. I'm just saying, there's got to be some level of intelligence. I'm not saying it's necessarily book smarts. Maybe it's street intelligence. Maybe it's investor intelligence. Maybe it's financial intelligence. It could be a mix of all of the above. But, you can give a dumb person $1 billion tomorrow. We see this all the time. People win the lottery, and in a few years, all the money's gone because they spent it. They were reckless. They didn't know how to budget. So, again, put aside your feelings on a moral level about billionaires, but there's some intelligence going on there. Okay, just saying.
Seen or witnessed, which you can probably even glean that from watching these people on TV.
0 points there on a scale from 0 to 100. 0 points on your laugh. Very not convincing. A very bad fake laugh. And then you're talking about Elon Musk, and yet you're talking about seeing these people on TV. Are we talking about a singular person here, or are we talking about a group of people? I thought we were just talking about Elon Musk. Can you just try to keep your story straight, AOC?
Anyways, all of that is to say is that they don't do their homework. Clearly, they're putting 19-year-olds in at the Treasury. This dude is not smart. And the danger in in the lack of intelligence and the lack of expertise.
If you're going to talk about intelligence, you should at least try to avoid ums and uhs. And I get that I say and in my videos. I get that. But I'm not out here claiming to be the smartest person in the world. I'm not out here saying other people are stupid. I'm not out here saying that the person who the left used to idolize because he was all about green energy, I'm not saying that he's dumb. So, I'm not being a hypocrite. It's AOC being a hypocrite here, and then she's stumbling over her sentences, can't get through it, talking about intelligence. Things are if you're scrambled in your mouth, you're probably scrambled up here.
That Elon has. I mean, this guy is one of the most morally vacant, but also just least knowledgeable about these systems that we really know of. But the point is that what that means is that they're going to hit a button inevitably. They are going to hit a button and things can go sideways.
If the government going sideways is as easy as hitting a button, if you're afraid of that, then quite frankly, the government's too big. It's too powerful. A lot of people being afraid of Donald Trump being a dictator or afraid of Donald Trump being an authoritarian. Well, if you're afraid that that's a legitimate risk, then the presidency's too powerful as it is. Which, we've been talking a lot over the years, not just recently, but going back to Barack Obama, George W. Bush, about the creeping scope of the office of the presidency. We're supposed to have co-equal branches of government. But yeah, all of that, just what a day. What a day. But if Democrats are melting down, I kind of low-key love it. So in my last video, I asked y'all about tariffs, and it was interesting. I would say about 65 to 70% of the comments were pro-tariff, and then about 30% of the comments were, it was a mix of either doubtful to full-on negative. So that was a pretty interesting split. A lot of times when I ask questions on the channel, the response is overwhelming, like 90-95% are all on the same page. And it was interesting to see that 70-30 split. But that's one of the things I love about the MAGA movement is that people think for themselves. For all the people on the left who say that conservatives and Republicans are all sheeple who blindly follow Donald Trump, that's just not true at all. I think the greatest example of it was the Visa controversy, right? When Elon Musk, Vivek Ramaswamy made their thoughts and opinions on that known, there was a huge outcry from the base. And I think that right there proves that the movement is truly by free thinkers who can think for themselves and have value systems that they believe in and have a clear vision for the country. And they're not being guided by any one individual. The guiding principle is the Constitution and trying to make the country a more perfect union. But as always, all of that is just my analysis and commentary. That is what's going on in the world of politics from my point of view. And I would love to hear from you. What do you think about Jasmine Crockett's appearance on CNN? I mean, I know that's a broad question, kind of intentionally broad. Like, were you amused by it? Did it anger you? Does it, like, just grate your nerves? Like, something else, let me know down in the comments below. If you haven't already, please be sure to like that button and smash that subscribe button. Yeah. Am I gonna edit that out? No, I'm not. Smash